Tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time. I feel alive, and the world, I've turned it inside out, right? I'm floating around in ecstasy, so don't stop me now. Don't stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time. I'm a shooting star leaping through the sky like a tiger, defying the laws of gravity. I'm a racing car passing by like Lady Godiva. I'm gonna go, 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 go. There's no stopping me. I'm burning through the sky, yeah. 200 degrees, that's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. I'm traveling at the speed of light. I wanna make a supersonic man out of you. Don't stop me now, 'cause I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now if you wanna have a good time. Just give me a call. Say don't stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time. Don't stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time. I don't wanna stop at all. I'm a rocket ship on my way to Mars, on a collision course. I am a satellite. I'm out of control. I'm a sex machine ready to reload. Like an atom bomb, I'm gonna explode. I'm burning through the sky, yeah. 200 degrees, that's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. I'm traveling at the speed of light. I wanna make a supersonic man out of you. Don't stop me now, 'cause I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now, 'cause I wanna have a good time. Just give me a call. Say don't stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time. Don't stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time. I don't wanna stop at all. Hey, yes.
All right. That was Debbie Jong, everybody. Debbie Jong. Give it up one more time. This summer in New York City, I'm riding my bicycle through in Manhattan, and I go down the east side, down to Battery Park, and there's people out, but not a lot. And you hear all of these stories about how New York is a ghost town, and you read all these articles about how everyone's leaving, and that the New York is over, and that the place is terrible. But here's the thing, is that we here live here because we know that being around other people, that living with other people, that sharing our lives with other people is the thing that makes life worth living. You live within yourself, but to be in the grand quilt of living with a bunch of New Yorkers, 9 million, way too many people. It smells like urine. It's a bad decision to live here. It's too expensive, but you don't want to be anywhere else. So I'm riding around and I'm thinking to myself, like, what is the truth of all this? Where is everything? Who is everybody? Who am I anymore? What is the city? I have no idea. And I'm riding, and I get down by the Staten Island Ferry, which is a whole nother story unto itself. You stay away from the Staten Island Ferry unless you need to. And I get down through Battery Park. There's a great bike path that goes through the park down by Battery Park. And I see there's this guy standing in the middle of the bike path. And I'm about to ring my bell, and I notice him. And he looks like one of those guys you see all over New York. A man of indeterminate age. He could be 45. He could be 75. He looks like if you Xeroxed a Xerox of George Carlin, it's that guy. You see those guys all over New York City all the time. He's standing in the middle. He's wearing 4 different shades of black in his outfit. His pants, his shirt, his jacket, his sweater are all different shades of black. And he's staring and pointing at something in the middle of the street, in the middle of the bike lane. And as I'm getting close to him, he looks up at me. I'm wearing my mask. I got my helmet. I'm riding on my bike. And he goes, "Hey, it's a bat." And it was a bat in the middle of the thing. But why would you expect to see a bat in the middle of the bike lane? But he did, and he had to share it. And I wanted to hear it. And we heard ourselves. We lived with ourselves. There was a moment where a sentient piece of New York City soul came up and pointed out a bat that shouldn't have been there in the middle of the bike lane in Battery Park City, which I guess now that I think about it, could make some sense after all. Listen. Welcome to the Moth, live from St. Anne's Church in Brooklyn. How are you tonight? Oh, it's so good to be here. One more hand for Debbie Jong, who opened us up. One more time. It feels good to applaud. My name is Peter Aguirre, and I'll be your host this evening. And we have tonight 5 stories coming to you from St. Anne's Church here in Brooklyn. You have to pardon me if I'm a little out of sorts. This is the most people I've spoken to since February, and it's really something. And I may cry. Who knows? I may have cried 4 times today already. It doesn't matter. It's the wealth of emotion is what gets us. Tonight, we are here for a Moth Mainstage show. Our theme is unstoppable. Man, just like each and every one of you out there here in the city, we are unstoppable. And we're going to listen to stories to that end. Now, the Moth, if you're not familiar, these are true stories told by just regular folks without notes. This is about as real as it gets. These are just stories right from the heart, from the divisive breath of experience directly to your ears in your living rooms or wherever it is that you're watching. Now, we're coming to you live here from St. Anne's. We have Debbie's up in the front. Our storytellers are up in the front. We have a smattering of cast and crew. All of us who aren't on the microphone are wearing masks at all times. Anybody who's in the crew is wearing a mask. We're all staying at least 6 to 8 feet away from each other, which frankly is something I hope we hold on to after this is all over. I enjoy my personal space, and I like having more of it. I got a lot of limbs, and they go wherever they need to go. All of our stories tonight are going to be in the 10 to 12 minute range, and they're all curated stories and directed and beautiful and from the heart, like I said. Debbie is not just going to be our musician, she's also the timekeeper tonight. So around the 10-minute mark, Debbie's going to give a signal. It's going to sound something like this. It's beautiful. That's a NPR death metal sound, and that lets you know that it's here is toward the end, and you should find your ending. It'd be nice if we had that in regular conversation. And if the storyteller begins to lose themselves into the black hole void of time, Debbie's going to make a more menacing sound like this. Horrifying, and also copyright infringement. So that's what will happen if you hear Debbie playing during the show. That's just her giving our storytellers a chance to catch their breaths and realize where they are in the story. I'll be here, like I said, to guide you through the evening. Our theme tonight is unstoppable. I was thinking about the unstoppable things that we've had in our home, the 3 MVPs in our home throughout the quarantine period that we have not stopped doing and will continue to not stop doing as we go forward. Binder clips. Binder clips are so useful. There are 24 binder clips in use binding and clipping things around the house. Also, frozen chopped spinach. I put it in everything, and I feel like Popeye. And number 3 is the real MVP is Old Bay Cajun seasoning. It goes well with everything, and those are the 3 MVPs in our home as we're going. Those are our unstoppable quarantine ingredients to life. So, we'll have more of this as the night goes on. As we introduce, by we I mean me, as I introduce our storytellers this evening, we'll do it by way of the answer to a prompt that we gave them. And our prompt this evening is, tell us about a time something stopped you dead in your tracks. And with our theme of unstoppable, sometimes something grabs you. It was almost that guy with the bat, but it wasn't him, which was a good thing because I didn't want to run over the bat. if you want to read the bios of all of our storytellers, you can do that. We have programs that are online, and you can read about the bios. But we don't need to celebrate their accomplishments. They're just human beings just like you. So we're going to introduce each one of them by way of their answer to that question. So like I said, we've got a couple stories for you tonight. My heart is full, and I am honored to be here tonight to speak to you and to, share this evening with you together, apart, together and apart. This is what we got, so this is what we're going to do. We are ready to go. Does everybody want to hear some stories? Do you want to hear? Very good. If you're at home, make a lot of noise. This is your chance at home to make a lot of noise in a church. Also, turn off your cell phones. You're the only one who knows if you do that, but self-regulate yourself. That's your business. I can't tell you what to do with your life. Okay, here we go. It is now time for our first storyteller this evening. When I asked our first storyteller to tell us about a time that he was stopped dead in his tracks, he said, a couple weeks ago, it was his 52nd birthday, and he was walking through Washington Square Park with his young daughter. And as he was walking, he saw a young woman and her friends celebrating the young woman's 25th birthday. And the numbers were in inflatable balloons. And the wind may have caught them and switched them the other way. And that stopped him in his tracks. Please welcome Ali Reza Faranakian.
Thank you, Peter. Greetings, humans. Namaste. The light in me honors the light in you. I would like to start with a tiny prologue to basically put things in context for those who may watch this in the future and not understand what's happening. Today is November 12th, 2020, and we are in the midst of a global pandemic. The reason the 12th resonates with me is because 8 months ago today, March 12th, we were asked to shutter our 5 businesses, 4 in New York and 1 in North Carolina. And we ran the worst COVID businesses. We had theaters, the People's Improv Theater, Black Box Theaters, The Loft. We had a theater in Chapel Hill, the Pit Chapel Hill. We had a bar called Pioneers, and we had a rehearsal space called Simple Studios, which we had to surrender after 126 months because we no longer could afford to stay there. So I'm very grateful to be here tonight in front of you under a roof with a mic. Also, elephant in the room, this is my COVID avatar. I usually have hair that's colored and cut black, and the mustache is for Movember for celebrating men's mental and physical health. It was August of 1985, and I was a freshman at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I was 16 years old. I would turn 17 October 26th, but I was 16. I was definitely one of those, I am 16, going on 17. And I came to Chapel Hill in a way to reinvent myself. I wanted to pursue an Animal House type lifestyle. So I would go out drinking a good bit, I would party, and I kind of was letting it go. It began to be September of that freshman year, and after a night of drinking on a Friday, a Saturday morning, a suite mate knocked on my door at Avery Dorm and said, hey, you want to put some money down on the games today? I said, what are you talking about? He goes, oh, we have a bookie, his name is Arnold, we bet through him. And this was a fifth-year senior, and he was popular, and this seemed like a cool thing to do, to start making some wagers on some games. Now, he probably just, trying to get me to bet because Arnold gave him a bonus for everybody who brought him. But I bet that day, I bet a $5, a $10, and a $15 wager, and then I bet on Sunday, and I think I won a little bit of money. But that moment of knocking on the door led to 1 year of gambling. I would bet on everything. I was betting on college football. I was betting on college basketball, professional football. I was betting on, the worst thing to bet on is baseball. And this takes me to the summer of 1986, where I was betting on the New York Mets. Now, why baseball is the worst to bet on is because when you bet on baseball, it's not a straight-up bet where you bet $1 and win or lose $1. So you might bet $1.80 just to win $1. So a $200 wager could cost you $360. So all of a sudden, I got myself into this mode of tilt where I was losing money. And all of a sudden, in a month, it accelerated very quickly where all of a sudden, I owed a chunk of change. Now, back then, I would say I owed a Yugo because it was a Yugoslavian card that was around $4,000, but it was roughly $4,000 that I owed to the bookie. So I called him up one day and I said, Arnold, listen, man, I apologize. I made a mistake. I got in over my head and I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay you. And he was very casual about it. Calm, cool, collected. He goes, all right, man, that's all right. No big deal. I'll just tell the folks in Charlotte and then they'll tell the folks in Vegas. I go, Charlotte, Vegas, what are you talking about? He said, well, I don't just take all the bets. I have to put them through Charlotte. They put them through Vegas. I just make my money on the bookie fees, the 10% you get for people betting when they win. I said, what are these guys going to do? He said, well, I'll just tell them how much you owe. I'll give them your phone number, and they'll get their money. I said, how are they going to get their money? He goes, well, they'll go to your friends. They'll go to your family. They'll go to your parents, and usually they'll pay up for you. They're going to go to my parents? And the thought of them going to my parents immediately made me sweat. I was already kind of not the child they wanted to be because I hadn't achieved like my sister had. So I said, well, what else would they do? He said, well, there was this one guy, and this guy wouldn't pay, and he was kind of an a-hole. So they took him out to the woods. They found a stump. They brought a nail, a hammer, an axe, and some gasoline. They made him pull down his pants and sit on the stump, and they said, we're going to nail your manhood to the stump. We're going to pour gasoline on it. We're going to light a match, hand you the axe, and then you can decide what you want to do, i.e., cut off your penis or get engulfed in flames. Ooh, what a story. Now, I didn't know if it was true or not, and I didn't ask what happened, but I knew I had to get the money. That night I went home, and I was just laying on my side, and I was just kind of moaning and like biting this area, and I was watching TV with an antenna, and drinking water was like, it felt like vodka. But I knew I had to figure out a way to get out of it. My mind was going into like an AI mode of trying to find solutions. What could I sell? Well, I've got a radar detector. I got some tennis rackets. I got a baseball mitt. But none of what I could sell was ever going to be enough. And then I had some other harebrained ideas, borrowing money from people. And then I realized none of this was going to get me to the amount of money I needed to give these people. So I decided I would go to my bank on Franklin Street, NCNB. I'd been banking with them. I had a checking account. I went in that day, and I dressed the best I could, and I went to a loan banker, and I said to him, excuse me, sir, I'd like to take out this loan, and here's the stuff, and we talked about it. And he said, this is a substantial amount of money for a young man. Ollie, may I ask what this is for? And he said, I said, well, I was living at this fraternity this summer, and I accidentally broke this vase. He said, you mean a vase? I said, at this amount, I think it's a vase. And he laughed. And at that moment, I endeared myself to him, and I felt like he was going to try to help. So he went to the back. He said, let me talk to my bank manager. And he came back, and he said, Al, you're a nice guy and all, but you got no collateral, no credit, and no job. So there's no way I can give you a loan. But if you get somebody to co-sign for you, I will push it through for you. I said, okay, what does that mean? He says, you just need to get someone who's got credit and more money than you, and they sign their name on it, and then you pay the loan payments, but if you don't, then they go after them. I said, okay. There was hope. So I left there, and I thought to myself, I can't ask my parents because they're just going to want to pay it off and be done with it, and then I would be heartbroken and filled with more shame. So I thought the one person I could ask was my uncle Mo, Mohammad Vahid Sauda Nasri. Now, he came to this country at 16 to study physics in Texas. And one night when he was 17, he was trying to make some money himself, and he covered a shift for a friend at a gas station. My mother had a premonition about this and told him not to do it, but he needed the money. That night, a gentleman walked in there to rob the place. He took all the money from the gas station, and as he was leaving, he came back and he said, you're going to be able to identify me. I have to kill you. So Mo had a dictionary, and he lied down on the ground, and he put the dictionary behind his head, and then the gentleman fired 5 or 6 times, point blank at him. The bullets found no purchase in his brain. They went through his jaw, and he survived, and he had a wonderful life, and he had 2 lovely children. And he was someone who was more like a big brother to me than an uncle. And so I called him up and I said, hey, Mo, this is Ali. Listen, can you do me a favor? Can you co-sign on a loan for me? And he goes, yeah, Ali, bring over the papers. And so I drove to Clemens, North Carolina with the papers, and I went into his shop. He had a print shop that he had, and he had a brand new, like 2 or 3 month old baby girl, and his wife was there. And I said, hey, man, thank you for doing this. Yes, no problem, Ali. And I put down the papers for him to sign. But I covered up the amount of the loan and what it was for. And he had the pen, and he looked at me, and he said, Ali, you want to tell your Uncle Mo what this is for? I said, I'd rather not. You want to tell your Uncle Mo how much this is for? I said, I'd rather not. He said, okay. Well, don't forget your Uncle Mo when you make it big. And he signed the loan papers. And in my heart, I was crestfallen because he thought I was trying to get to some place bigger. I was trying to create, but really I was just trying to dig out of a hole. I hugged him, I hugged my aunt, and I drove back to Chapel Hill, and for the first night, I was able to sleep. There was hope on the horizon. So the next morning, I went to the banker, and I gave him the forms. He looked at it, and he goes, yeah, all looks good. Thank you, Al. Let me just go grab you a check. Brought me back a check, and then I took the check to the teller. The teller cashed in. She goes, how do you want this? And I said, $100 bills, please. Just put it in an envelope and seal it. You don't want to count it? I go, no, I trust you. Just seal it. I don't want to see it. So she put the hundreds in the envelope. I've never felt that kind of heft in an envelope full of hundreds, and I'd never had that kind of money in my life before. So I took the money sealed. I drove over to Arnold, the bookie's place. I knocked on the door, and I went in, and he was wearing like Daisy Dudes, like jean shorts and no shirt. His apartment looked like a Best Buy had hooked up with at a Circuit City. And there was just tons of equipment there that looked like other people had used to pay him off. So then Arnold, I hand him the money and I go, thanks, man, I appreciate your patience, take care. And he goes, whoa, slow down, man. We got to count this. I said, what? He goes, I've got to make sure, man, all the money's here. Don't want to make it seem like they're a couple, 2, 3 short. Then I got to call you. And I'm like, okay, fine, count it. So Arnold rips over the envelope, and for the first time, I see the stack of $100 bills. And he starts counting them, 1, 2, 3, 4. And as he's counting them in my mind, I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4. Could have had a bicycle. 5, 6, 7, 8. Could have had a VCR. 9, 10, 11. Could have had a camera. And I was going through all the things I could have had. But he counted it. It was all there, and he said to me, thanks for standing by your word. I go, yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. After all, he hadn't done anything wrong. It was me who had failed. So I got in the car, and Bob Marley, Legend, was big at the time, and I think Redemption Song started playing in the car, and at that moment I was like, I did it. I paid it off. It's over, this part of it. My parents are not going to find out, and as long as I make the payments, Mo is no worse for the wear and tear. So I went back to where I lived, and I began to think of how am I going to get money to be able to pay this off so I don't get behind on my loan payments. So I had a job at the time working at Ham's Restaurant. So I work at that restaurant from like 5 to 10 at night. Then I would drive from 10 to 11 to go to Kernersville, North Carolina to work on a freight dock called Pilot Freight, a job I had right out of high school because they paid $13.21 an hour. Then I would come back to Chapel Hill and work a football Saturday at Ham's. And then at 5 o'clock, I'd go home, shower, and crash. And on top of this, I was a full-time student at Carolina, taking pre-med classes that I shouldn't have, taking 5 classes that I shouldn't have. I also started doing EPA experiments. The EPA was doing experiments, and they needed guinea pigs, human lab rats. So I would come in every Thursday for a month and run on a treadmill for 50 minutes at a time, which was equivalent to the amount of ozone you would breathe in Los Angeles in a day. But that 4 days, plus the 4 days I came in the day after for them to test my vitals, was $673 that I put right in the bank. I also took refrigerators and I refurbished them and I sold them and I did what I could to get ahead of that because I didn't want to have anybody be let down again because I didn't make those payments. It taught me how to hustle and generate revenues when I had to. Now, I never told this story to anybody. My parents never knew about it, but when Mo passed away at 50, due to complications from diabetes, I felt like I had to tell this story at his eulogy because no one knew this story. No one knew really the kind of person he was. And the thought that my parents would be heartbroken because of what happened and I hadn't gone to them meant less than people understand what a big heart he had. He never lost his cool, and he always laughed from his belly. And I told the story about how he saved me that day with the signature. And then later that day, my mom said, Ali, why didn't you tell me that story? I would have given you. I was like, no, but that's why I wanted to take care of it myself. I'd like to say that was the last time I gambled, but it wasn't. I continued to gamble, and when I got to New York City, I ended up gambling in poker clubs. But what I also started doing is gambling on myself and things I believed in. And we started making wagers on little theaters. And we opened up our little theater on 29 between 6 and 7, 18 years ago. And then we gambled again on a rehearsal space. And then we gambled again on a bar. And then we gambled again on taking the little theater back and a bigger theater. And it made me realize that it's okay to gamble. You know, you just have to find a way to do it on yourself and things you believe in. Because things you have no control over, you're probably going to lose. But things you have some control over, you may have a chance to win. So for me, I don't know if I will ever sign a lease again because bricks and mortar broke my heart. But I don't imagine I can sit for much longer and not do something. Right now, we just have to see what the demise is of the spaces we oversee right now. But eventually the smoke will settle. Eventually this will become a memory. And I really believe that both locally, nationally, and globally, small business is the only way to really change the world, to plant trees so it doesn't become a dust bowl. So I encourage anybody to take a risk on yourself and go out and buy that book, go out there and take that class, gather your resources as dangers gather, and bet on yourself. Thank you.
All right, everyone, that's Ali Reza Farinaki, and give it up one more time. Show your love. Small coincidence. It was 2004. It was 16 years ago. I did my first solo show. It was a show called Graphic Vulgar Lunacy. I did it at the Pit on 29th Street in that very space upstairs. I performed a solo show for 2 people in the audience, which means that the audience doubled the number of people on stage. It was amazing. I gambled on myself that night, and I guess it was a push. Very good. People ask us where we find our storytellers. There's lots of places we find our storytellers. One of the places that you could help us find you is our pitch line. You could go to themoth.org and find our pitch line and leave us a message. Someone listens to it, and there's nothing but time to listen to this stuff now, so someone always listens to it. You can go to, like I said, themoth.org, or if you would rather call us, do you have a pencil? I'll wait. If you've need a pencil, just grab something. There's a writing implement somewhere for you to, okay, very good. You can call us at 877-799-6684. That's 877-799-6684. And you can join the pitch line there. So pitch us your story. We want to hear it. Very good, man. We do need our small businesses. We absolutely do. And New York is full of them. There's where are the bodega cats going to live if there's no bodegas? This is what we need here in the city. You know, we need, and things are going, we're going to at some point reach the other side of this. But for now, we're in it, man. We're in it. And that's all we got. So that's okay. That's okay. We want to keep it moving. So one more time for Ali, everybody. Show your love, because it feels good to make a joyful noise. Thank you, Ali. I'm glad you got to the other side of that. And I'm glad you had your Uncle Mo. Okay, our next storyteller, when I asked her to tell us about a time that something stopped her dead in the tracks, she said, the other day at the dog park, she saw a woman apply hand sanitizer to her dog's paws. That's very good. All right, please welcome Amanda Stern.
Since I was a child, I've been held captive by this nameless, invisible dread. The feeling was so all-encompassing, it made routine things like coming and going feel like I was putting my life in danger. It convinced me that if I wasn't watching her, my mom would die or disappear. I felt responsible for her safety. And this made leaving her every single morning to go to school feel unbearable, and leaving her to go to my dad's every other weekend feel like I was walking towards my own kidnapping. The only way that I could alleviate my apprehension, calm myself down, and find relief was just to avoid the hard thing and stay at home with my mom where I knew I would be safe. Nobody knew what was wrong with me. They called it homesickness, this feeling of mine, but I knew that couldn't be right because I felt it even when I was home. All I knew was that I felt defective and broken, and I secretly worried that I was crazy. I didn't anticipate that the dread would grow as I grew, and that I would bring it with me from childhood into adulthood. But that's exactly what happened. The year is 1995. I'm 25 years old. I live in a small apartment with a shower in the kitchen. Alanis Morissette is my generation's current soundtrack. I haven't left the apartment in 3 weeks. I don't have a job, so that's not a problem. I don't leave the house to see friends or go to bars or do anything a 25-year-old should do. When I get hungry, I order in, but I don't get hungry because I'm thinking of killing myself. You see, now I'm an adult, but instead of my mother being the central thing around which my dread has organized itself, it's my apartment. My apartment has become my mother. Only now, just the thought of leaving sends me to the bathroom to throw up. I worry that any small movement will set me off, so I stay as still as I possibly can. But then I worry that I'm running out of air, so I race to the window and I open it. But as soon as I stick my head out, I can feel the dread in the wind rushing towards my face, trying to murder me. And I slam the window down and I race back to the bathroom to throw up. But this doesn't stop me from worrying that I'm running out of air. So every now and then I check. I open the apartment door, I take a couple of steps out, but nope. I can feel that black cloth of dread wanting to drop over my head and pull me to a grave and bury me alive in cement. And I race back to my apartment, and I always end up throwing up in the bathroom. I can't even have friends over because I'm so afraid they'll breathe all the available air and I'll die from socializing. I want a big life. I want to perform and be on stage. I want to write books and do readings from them. I want to host dinner parties and actually attend them. But how can I do any of this when I can't even be around people? The only way out, the only thing I can figure to do is just to end my life. It just makes the most logical sense. But before I do that, I need to know the name of the thing that wants me to kill myself, and I know the person who knows that is my mother. I know that my mother has been keeping a secret from me. I know that she believes and knows that I'm crazy, but she somehow managed to keep it from me, to tell all my friends and boyfriends and teachers, and she managed to tell everybody in my life that I would ever meet, to keep this fact from me, to humor me. But I need to know. I need to know the name of this thing that wants me dead. So I call my mom. I tell her that I'm not doing well. And I tell her that I need to know what's wrong with me. I need to know its name. And she says she doesn't know. And no one knows. And I tell her it's okay. I'm prepared. I'm ready. I'm actually calling you for this information. I need it. I'm ready. Give it to me. Tell me I'm crazy. But she won't do it. She denies it. She tells me that if I were crazy, she'd tell me. Totally don't believe that, but she says it. Anyway, she doesn't like the way that I sound, so she tells me she's gonna call a cab and I should take it and come over to her house, which is 5 blocks away. Now, the only thing that could actually get me out of my apartment would be the promise of being close to my mom. we're not even, we don't even really get along that well at this point, but the umbilical cord between us has never been cut. So being near her, I feel, will just be the thing to get me out of my house. So I race down the hall and down the stairs and into this cab. And the second that I shut the door, I look at the lock on the cab, and I put my fingers in a V, and I put them on either side of the lock because I want to be ready for when the cab driver depresses the lock because he's going to kidnap and murder me. But I'll be fast, and I can flick the lock back up and race out of the cab. Now, even in my suicidal despair, I can see how absurd this is. Because here I am wanting to kill myself, but I'm afraid this guy's going to do it for me. Like, wouldn't I want him to kill me? But the truth is, I don't want to die. I just don't want to feel like this anymore. If only I could feel differently. If only I could not be filled with dread all the time. If only I could feel relief. And in that moment, my body somehow calls up the feeling that I want, and I can feel it across my chest, and it is so delicious. It's so perfectly perfect. It gives me a third option. Because the truth is, it's not the absence of feeling that I want. It's the presence of relief that I long for. And I know that the only way to feel this feeling, to fill my body with it, is to conquer my fear. And the only way to conquer my fear is to face it. And I understand in the back of that cab that the thing that is hardest for everyone in the world to do, which is to face your fear, actually feels easier and less exhausting to me than continuing to live my life the way that I've been living it. And so that's it. That's what I decide. I am going to live my life facing my fears because I cannot continue to live my life beholden to all my terror. We pull up in front of my childhood home, and I remove my fingers from the lock, and I race inside, the promise of being close to my mom. The next morning, my mom sends me to her therapist, and I find myself sitting in front of him, and he asks me for all my symptoms, and I tell him. He asks me how many weeks I've been feeling this way, and I say, I don't do that kind of math. I've been feeling this way 1,000 weeks. I don't know, since I was a baby. And he's shocked that I've gone this long without being diagnosed or treated, and he tells me that the name of my condition is a panic disorder. Only my panic disorder grew up, got married, and had babies. And now my body is home to 5 or 6 different anxiety disorders and clinical depression. He puts me on medication, I start seeing a therapist, and I slowly get better and better and better. My 25-year-old self was right. Facing my fears is easier than avoiding them. Avoiding them gave my fears power, but facing them gives me power. Now, I can get into a cab and not be afraid he's going to kidnap me. I can write books and do readings from them. I can have dinner parties and actually attend them. I can be afraid and do it anyway, because I know that facing my fears won't kill me, but running from them almost did. Thank you.
That's Amanda Stern, everyone. Beautiful, beautiful. There's, man, what a beautiful line in there. It wasn't it wasn't the absence of feeling that I needed, but it was the presence of relief. What a thing that we all just want. Just absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Amanda. Just that was great. We'll be right back. One more time, give it up for Debbie up at the front.
Time stands still, we're moving on until both of us see what we feel could possibly be. Timing true, taking a step or two every day, closer to what just might be real. I know when it's too good to feel how it could be so real. Just know that I want you to be here. Oh, how could this be that you're standing here next to me? Maybe time slip away and make fun of us for the things that we share, and you wait and you see that we're not what some might call make-believe. Baby, you and me, we're loved naturally. Oh, love naturally, you and me. Give you all the rest, found what my heart loves best. Now that you know, no one else will ever come close. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you just take all your fears, we'll both disappear. 'Cause you are the one I wanna hear. Oh, how could this be that you're standing here next to me? Maybe time slip away and make fun of us for the things that we share, and you wait and you'll see that we're not what some might call make-believe. Baby, you and me will love naturally. Oh, love naturally, you and me. You're standing here next to me. Maybe time slip away and make fun of us for the things that we share, and you wait and you'll see that we're not what some might call make-believe. Baby, you and me will love naturally. Oh, love naturally, you and me.
That was dedicated to Peter and his wife.
Oh, man, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. How's everybody feeling? We feeling good? we definitely took like a melancholy "This Is Us" turn in the evening there, didn't we? All right. That's okay. So I want to welcome back everybody at home. I want to remind you to turn your phones off again. Also, I want to remind everybody, just the handful of people that are here, to also turn your phones off. Yeah, we heard that in the first half, so turn it off. That'll be a good time. I want to say hello to, I know I got some people that are unstoppable that are watching right now. I want to say hello to my friend Corinne. She's a therapist. She's been helping people out over the phone, over Zoom during out this whole thing. I want to say hi to my friend John, Corinne's husband. John works at Columbia University helping students like make their way through the world and get their IDs in the middle of this because colleges still have bureaucracy. I want to say hello to their son, Hunter Bear. How you doing, Hunter Bear? You're going to school at home. I don't know how you're doing that. And your hair is curly and amazing. I want to say hello to my friend Nina in Iowa. In the middle of this, Nina got an agent for her book. How about that? That is amazing right there. My friend Guppy lives up in upstate. She has been pitching stories, pitching shows, and like there's a lot of interest in some of the projects she wants to work on. And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't say hello to my mother, the Duchess. Barbara, how are you? She's busy somehow not making pancakes for me, for the world's greatest pancakes in the world. Hi, Mom. I love you. I'll miss you for Christmas this year. But so those are the unstoppable people I know that are watching right now, and I know you all have unstoppable people in your lives, including yourselves, because as it is right now, man, if you're here today, you're undefeated. So welcome back to the second half of the show, my undefeated, unstoppable people. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so we now are ready. Would you like to hear another story? All right, very good. Very good, very good. Okay. Our next storyteller, when I asked him to tell me about a time where he was stopped dead in his tracks, he said he was on his way to the city to meet a woman for a date. That woman ghosted him, so he got in touch with another woman he knew via MySpace. They went on a date, and now that they're married. So I don't know how that happens. It's one of the only MySpace marriages I've ever heard of. Please welcome Edgar Ruiz Jr.
What's good, Moth? Back in 1992, I was 11 years old, living with my mom in the Bronx. And she had decided that she was gonna send me back to Puerto Rico to live with my father for the summer. See, when wealthy kids act up, they get sent to boarding schools. When New Yorkers act up, they send us back to the island. I wasn't a delinquent or anything like that, but let's just say puberty was hitting me hard and my mama wasn't feeling me. She divorced my dad when I was 2 years old, and we left Puerto Rico for New York shortly after, leaving him behind. The earliest memories that I have of him are like long-distance phone calls for my birthday and sometimes on Christmas. Now, the summer 1992 started off on the wrong foot, almost literally. The only pair of sneakers that I took with me to the island were stolen out of my suitcase at the airport. So I had to walk around flip-flops for a few days in the mountains of Puerto Rico until my mom finally forced my dad to get me some sneakers. Now, this is probably a good time to let you know that at the age of 11, I was 6 feet tall, 230 pounds, and wearing a size 12 sneaker. Not a lot of size 12s in Puerto Rico. So after like the third Payless shoe store that we came out of being able to find sneakers, he was heated. But not me, though. I was a Bronx kid. We loved sneakers. What you wore on your feet represented where you were at in the food chain on my block. You wore some busted-looking sneakers. The older kids were gonna have jokes, and they were gonna eat you alive. So I went straight to the Nike section, picked out some Air Force Ones, and I brought them back to my dad. My dad had a serious face. He looked at me, and in Spanish, he said, "No." Told me to get something cheaper. So my next logical step was to pick up some Reeboks. They were like $29.99, but he was shaking his head emphatically before I even got to him, like I was holding a bomb or something. By then, I could see the frustration on his face. And I barely knew this guy, so it was kind of intimidating. And I let him pick out whatever sneaker he wanted. Now, I don't remember the name brand he picked out. I think I repressed them. But I'll never forget how ugly these sneakers were. They were brown and black and complete knockoffs of the Reebok pumps. You guys remember the pumps? They had a little nice basketball on the tongue. The sneaker would fill up with air. Those Reeboks were so cool. These ashy brown ones he got me, they were not. They cost him like $13.99, and I was so disappointed he didn't give me those Nikes. I was 11, so to me, him not buying me those sneakers meant that he didn't love me. I remember gossiping on the phone with my mother that night and telling her, when I have my own kids, I'm gonna buy them the most expensive sneakers I can afford to show them that I love them. Those are lies now. My 4-year-old wants some sneakers. He better get a job. But here's the crazy part. Even though I felt that my dad didn't love me back then, I definitely loved my dad. So much so that I actually ended up falling in love with those sneakers just because he bought them for me. And when I got back to New York, I wore those things till they literally ripped apart. People made fun of me for wearing them. Heck, even my mom had jokes. But I didn't care. My dad gave me those sneakers. And my dad never really gave me anything. Those ugly things hugging my feet were the closest I was gonna get to a hug from my pops. And I held on to them as long as I could. After that summer, I went back like once or twice, but then I took a long hiatus. And I didn't go back till I was 19 years old. By then I was a high school graduate, a college sophomore. I was working, so I had a little bit of money in my pockets. I was wearing name brand everything. It was like 2000, so I was wearing them shiny Sean John shirts and them baggy Pele jeans. But most importantly, I was rocking Jordans, and the black and white shiny ones too. If you know anything about sneakers, that's the top of the food chain right there. I was showing off. I wanted to show my dad the man that I was becoming, really without his help. But I realized a few things on that vacation when I was 19. I realized that I was completely wrong about my father, and I didn't know him. My dad wasn't cheap. He was just kind of broke, struggling to make ends meet. He had lived most of his life working paycheck to paycheck, working in factories in Puerto Rico, trying to support his family. I looked it up. Minimum wage back in '92 was like $4.25. If he was lucky to be making that. So $13.99 must have been like half a day's work for the guy. I was so embarrassed. I was humbled. And it was on that vacation at 19 that my father and I laid the foundation to this amazing relationship that we have to this day. And the more I learned about him, the more I learned about myself. Ironically, a few weeks before that trip at 19, I wrote this college essay. Now, I won't bore you with the details, even though it was an A+ paper. But it was on nature versus nurture, which is a theory that tries to explain what are the biggest factors in human development, genetics or their environment. And when I wrote that paper, I was more on the side of the environment because in my mind, I was a product of the Bronx. I was a product of my mom. And she did an amazing job, but there was always something that was missing. I didn't quite fit in with anybody. And then I met my dad. And it was crazy seeing all the things that we'd had in common. From the way we signed our name to the type of girls we liked. All of them, we liked them all. But it was scary. It's kind of like looking into the mirror for the first time. Dude is extremely charismatic, the life of the party, but loves to be alone, just like me. One of the nicest people you will ever meet, but is also the most sarcastic person you would ever meet, just like me. Creative, loves art, loves music, loves to draw, just like me. And yo, and let me tell you, his skills with the ladies, impeccable. Nothing like me. Nothing. Those genetics was like, nah, you get height and dimples. You work with that. That summer, I always knew who my dad was, but that summer, he became my father. Now, I want to tell you things have gotten better for the guy, but we've all seen the news in Puerto Rico. Earthquakes, hurricanes, what else? Political unrest, and now you got the virus. You know, it seems like Puerto Rico can't catch a break. But my dad is a survivor. He does what he has to do to make ends meet, and I do what I can to help him out. Not too long ago, I went back on vacation, and we were hanging out playing pool, and I noticed that his sneakers were run down. Like, I seen better sneakers hanging off power lines in the hood. And I tricked him into going to the mall with me, the same mall that he took me to when I was 11 years old. And I took him to the Foot Locker, and after like 20 minutes of arguing, because he's hard-headed like me, he picked out a $20 pair of sneakers. And I turned to him and I said in Spanish, no. Nah. That day my dad walked out with a pair of Nikes, and they looked really good on his feet, and I know he loved them. But not as much as I loved those ugly sneakers he bought me when I was 11. Thank you.
One more time for Edgar Ruiz Jr. I got chills. Just beautiful, beautiful. Everyone, that is our show this evening. I want you all that are watching at home to stick around and watch the credits. We got some photos that our storytellers submitted in that are just fun photos that might be related to some of their stories. I want to thank one more time everybody involved with the show. I want to thank our storytellers one more time, Ruth and Ali and Amanda and Edgar. Give it up for them one more time. I want to thank you for being here, for tuning in. I want to thank you for supporting the Moth. You can go to themoth.org, learn all about upcoming events, past events, listen to stories. We need to take good care of ourselves. We need to take care of each other. For the next couple of however long it is until we meet again, I want you to promise to take good care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. This is all we got, man. All we got is each other, and that's all we need. My name's Peter Aguirre. I've been your host. Give it up for Debbie one more time. She's going to be playing. I love you. Thank you so much.
You said, oh baby, don't leave my side. You said you can't forget those times together. Do you remember all those times when you were with another gal holding hands right before my eyes? Do you think you have another chance with me? Do you think I'll stand and watch you leave just like you did with them? Now I want more than just the promises you made before. And now I know that I deserve more than this. And you can watch me leave. So what if I look like a heartless freak? So what if I don't care that you can't see without me? Oh no, the things you want that you can't deny. It's such a shame that I'm not that kind to give it. No, not this time. So do you think you have another chance with me? Do you and watch you leave, just like you did with him. No, I want more than just the promises you made before. And now I know that I deserve more than this, and you can watch me leave. Do you think you have another chance with me? Do you think I'll stand and watch you leave, just like you did with him? No, I want more than just the promises you made before. And now I know that I deserve more than this, and you can watch me leave. Yeah, you can watch me leave. And you can watch me leave. And you can watch me leave.
Thank you.